One. Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. I'm your host, Paul Tripoli. Coach Trip to my players who had 14 great years coaching high school. Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. Got a special guest today, Tommy Wilcox. Tommy, thanks for making the time to be on the show today.
Oh, man, Paul, anytime, man. I'm just glad I was able to run you down, man.
Bama All-American strong safety and host of the TV show, Tommy Wilcox Outdoors. Tommy, we're going to talk about your hunting and fishing show in a little bit, but let's start from the beginning. You were born in Harahan, Louisiana. You went to Alfred Bonneville High School. Talk about your mom and your dad and your siblings.
All right. My daddy played football at Tulane. He was a star there, and he played both football and baseball. My mama worked for the South Central Bell, which was the big telephone company back then. And they had 6 kids. And I had an older sister, an older brother, then me, then a younger sister, then another younger sister, and then littler brother. So we came from a big family. It was middle class. We didn't know, what we didn't have because we didn't have it, so we didn't need it, So, but we were all raised in an athletic family.
Yeah. Yeah, your dad playing. Oh my gosh, I didn't know your dad played at Tulane. All right, Let's go. Let's turn back to 1977. The New Orleans area had 3 great quarterbacks: John Forcade, Bobby Hebert, and yourself.
Right. That was Forcade played for Archbishop Shaw, and then Bobby Hebert played for South Lafourche. Then I played at Bonneville High School, and that was a year that was you usually don't have that many quarterbacks at that caliber. And I'm not talking about myself, but them two. Both those guys had great college careers, and then Bobby had a magnificent NFL career, So, but we wound up playing Bobby and them in the state championship. We were a young school. We were only in existence, I want to say 4 years.
Oh, wow.
We had, within 4 years, we went from being in existence to playing for the state championship. So that was something pretty special to all our coaches.
Yeah.
I had some great high school.
You must have had some great high school coaches, because I remember when you telling me earlier in the week that when you went to Alabama, you kind of ran the same defense in high school.
It was amazing. Our head coach was Willie Hoff. He was a great running back at Tulane. He played with my daddy at Tulane. So he was our head coach, and we had Barry Bordelon, who played at Mississippi State. We had Elton Lagasse, who was on the line. We had Coach Don Bonowitz, who was a great high school sports star out of East Jefferson High School. And then later he went to Southeast, but I think he wound up going in the National Guard or something. But he was a great athlete out of the New Orleans area. And he was a quarterback coach, defensive back coach, and all. And we, Paul, and you know that because you've been around a lot of other high schools back when we came up. Like we had scouting reports, we had an in-season training program, we had an off-season program. We went away for camp before the season started for a week. We had to watch film. We had strict weight room workouts after practice. And, I remember when I got to Alabama and I talked with other players, they didn't have weight programs at their high school. Wow, he said they didn't even practice, individual drills and then group drills. They just, as a team, did offense and then they did defense. So it was back in a time where, there wasn't a lot of money being spent on high schools and stuff like that back then. And high schools some just didn't have the money for weights and didn't have booster clubs and stuff like that. We had it all. The reason I started so early at Alabama is because, like I told you, we had all that.
Wow.
We had a scouting report before the game. We knew what plays they were going to run. We knew what, on first down or first and 10 or whatever. We knew it. But a lot of people.
So Tommy, I guess we had a jump start on our college career, both of us, because George O'Leary was my high school coach.
Right.
And we were going in and lifting weights at 5:30 in the morning before school. Nobody else was doing that.
Right.
We were lucky our coaches were ahead of their time.
Yeah, they were ahead of their time. And if you talk to anybody in the Louisiana and the New Orleans area, because the majority of them played college ball, they ran us like a college program. And a lot of people didn't have that, man. And you just some of the guys that we played ball with, they didn't have all that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was new to them when we came to Alabama and we had to do those. It was just old news to us.
All right, talk about transitioning. You were like me. You didn't languish as long as I did for 2 years on the fifth string scout team, but you switched to strong safety. Talk about Coach Bryant and you given. I want to hear about that conversation about your move to strong, because he was brilliant and stuff like that.
Well, it was really my fault. I was redshirted my first year. And I ran the scout team against Barry Krause, Morty Lyons, Rich Wingo, Murray Lake,
Byron Braggs, EJ Jr.
Byron Braggs, Curtis McGriff, EJ Jr. I mean, every one of them, not every one of them, but the majority of those that I just mentioned played in the NFL. And so it was child abuse, man. That's what I tell everybody. I mean, it was to go up against them every day. I mean, it was no hope. I mean, it was, I'm telling you, it was child abuse. Those guys were unbelievable. So really after that year of just getting the heck beat out of me and what football wasn't fun and all that kind of stuff, on my own, I decided, well, I don't know if I want to go back and go through all that again, and then 2 days got there and I wasn't there, and Coach Bryant called me up and I told him, and he said, well, you got a car? I said, no, sir. He said, can you get a car? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, meet me at the airport in a few hours, And so I did. And he got in a hotel room and at the, I forgot what it was called over there, Howard Johnson or something. And we went into a hotel room and he, in a hotel room, they got those 2 chairs and a table, Yeah. He moved the table out the way. And he said, you sit here. When I sat there, and then he pulled his chair up right in front of me. And he was so big. He was a big guy. So his knees were outside my knees.
He was huge.
So my knees are inside his legs. And he said, now tell me what's wrong. And I told him what was wrong and how football wasn't fun. And, he says, man, look, I've heard all that before. He said, listen, man, I think you made it the right stuff. I think if you come back and you're willing to do this and this, I think you'll be able to play for us. But he said, I don't want you to throw this opportunity away. He says, and I'm not going to promise you that you're going to start, and I'm not going to promise you're going to have to earn everything. But he said, I can tell you right now, on offense, you got to know all the plays, you got to know all the audibles, you got to know all the defenses and all that. And he says, you're behind, and every day you don't come back, you're getting further behind. Mm-hmm. And he said, but I think you made the right material. And he says, I think that if you'll do what I think that you'll do, then he says, I think you can start for me on defense. And he said, but I'm not going to promise you because there's a senior in front of you. But he says, you got to want it and you got to earn it. And he said, but I think enough of you that if you come back and do what I ask you to do, I think you could be an All-American.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Holy cow, Tommy.
So I'm, but he kept referencing and saying, he said, but I'm not giving you nothing. You're going to have to earn everything.
Right.
So I decided I mean, he flew down in a school plane just for that, man. And
holy cow.
So I told him, well, I had to go home and pack and all that kind of stuff. So he flew back, and then I came back up a couple of days later. And then it was just, I mean, hell for a week. He put me back on the scout team, but not only did I run the offensive scout team, he put me on the defense scout team against the first team offense.
Oh my!
So here I am. I'm thinking, you know what? This ain't what we talked about in that hotel. And I'd have coaches coming back to me, and they saying, "Just hang in there, man. He's testing you. He's testing the shit."
Yeah. Was Brother Oliver helping you along with that?
Yeah. Just hang in there, man.
Yeah.
Just keep fighting like you're doing, man.
Yeah.
And a week passed, and I had to do some running and a few other things that I had to do to show all the other players that, for not coming back on time. Mm-hmm. But I did everything he asked me to do. And then he called me in his office right before the Georgia Tech game. He says, look, there's a senior in front of you. His name was Bobby Smith. And he says, I am going to play him the first quarter of the Georgia Tech game. And he said, but I'm going to put you in in the second quarter. And it's going to be your job to win. Mm-hmm. And if you don't,
oh my God!
If you don't succeed, so man,
the rest was history. You started playing well. Were you playing? Were you showing out on the scout team on defense because you played it?
Well, it's kind of hard to show out on my scout team. You know what I mean? We had so many great players on first team defense and offense back there. But I didn't quit. I hung in there and I survived, and then. But here's the story. So I go back in the second play of the second quarter. He says, Wilcox, get in there. And I really had a good game, man. The Lord blessed me, man. I had a great game. He makes me the captain of the next game. We played Baylor. He made me the captain of the specialty team because we had like 3 or 4 kickoffs, and I made 3 tackles on the kickoff. Yeah. So he made me the captain next week, and he called me and he said, now I'm going to tell you, you've won the starting job. And he said, I'm making you a captain for the game. He said, I've never done this before. You're a freshman. The reporters are going to ask you all kind of dumb questions. Just show your class. So after that next week, I was the captain of when I had to walk out to middle field as representing the kicking team, and then the rest was history, man. The next 4 years, but that's how close I come to throwing everything away in my life.
Oh my gosh.
Had he not thought enough of me, because they were already in 2-a-days. Now, this is what you got to remember. We were already in 2-a-days. So he thought enough of me to fly down on the school plane. Just him. Now, no coaches with him, just him and the 2 pilots. And he thought enough of me to fly down and go talk with me for a couple hours and get me to come back to school.
That explains him right there. That's exact. That you don't have to say anymore. That's the kind of folks we're talking with. Tommy Wilcox. That's right. 2-time All-American strong safety. And I was a Yankee walk-on, slow, fat, dumb, weak white boy. I didn't know what I was doing, but Tommy, all I had to do was watch you every day for 2 years in practice, man. And I learned so much on how to play the strong safety position at an elite level. I want to thank you after all these years, man. I never got the chance to say thanks for tutoring me and showing me how it's done and doing it with class.
Well, listen, man, I appreciate you saying that, but people don't realize you don't just come out to Alabama and walk on. I mean, you got to have certain things. So, I mean, I loved you. I loved the little cornerback.
Sammy Hood.
Yeah, Sammy Hood. I mean, y'all was hard-nosed, hard workers, and that's kind of what I was. And, you like people that'll like you. You know what I mean? Right. You want to be around people like you were, because that's what Alabama football was all about, and
Absolutely.
and we didn't have, people think, oh, with all them great players you had jealousy. No, we thrived off of everyone's success. We wanted to be better than you, but we wanted you to be successful too, and we just kind of scratch one another's back. And that's Coach Bryant, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he didn't care if you were an All-American or if you were a walk-on. He didn't mind embarrassing you. He
didn't care. He didn't care if you're a Yankee walk-on or an
No, matter of
All-American.
fact, if you were an All-American, he'd probably say something more to you than he would have, someone that was walking on, because he wanted you to say, well, dang, if he's going to get on him like that, just think what he'll do to me. That's
all right, Jeremiah. Let's go back to December 29th, 1982. I remember that last practice of Coach Bryant's and the tears that came down the locker room. But before the game, Jeremiah Castile made a speech about, to the players only, to us. And he talked about it, playing it for yourself. And I wasn't mature enough to understand what he was talking about, but he had a little more wisdom than I did, because he went out and had like 3 picks in the game.
Right.
Talk about that last game, coaches.
The last game was really unbelievable, because anybody that was somebody wanted to be at that game, especially if they were a reporter. So, as you know, they had people from all over the world that came to the game to witness Coach Bryant's last game. So what that did, that put a lot of pressure on us, you know what I mean? Because we didn't want to go out. We had started.
That's the last thing we wanted to do.
The last thing we wanted to do is not give him a win in his last game. And it showed out there on the field. I mean, that Tony Eason and that group of Illinois, they were so good, man. Yeah. Ball and all that stuff. But and if we turned the ball over on offense, then we'd get it back on defense. And if we turned the ball over again, we'd do a fumble. It was just something that it was one of them games where we were just determined not to give it away. And I don't know how I'd feel today if we wouldn't have won that game. I probably would still be thinking, what in the world did we do? Because we had such a good team coming back that year. Yeah. And we started the season out like maybe 5 or 6-0 or something like that. And then we wound up losing to LSU and losing to Southern Miss. And we lost to Tennessee, LSU. I mean, we got into a downfall, and then,
But Coach Miller came back, and Coach Bryant told him to run him, not to kill us, because we had a couple offensive linemen pull up with hamstrings after Coach Miller. I thought we were in the lower gym. We were in some kind of gymnasium.
That's right. And I remember. I'm glad you said that, because I remember that, and I'm thinking, we got to play in another day or so. And he told Coach Bryant told him to go ahead and work us out and do some running and stuff. Well, we ran and we ran and we ran and we ran. And then finally Coach Bryant come back in. He said, well, let's end this thing. He said, I told you to work them out, but not kill them, So,
Coach, I call you Coach because you actually coached for a few years at Hillcrest High School in Tuscaloosa.
I did. I helped out a little bit on the side.
Did you?
I did pharmaceuticals for 20 years, and I just would help out a little bit with defense.
All right, let's talk hunting and fishing for a little bit. When did you start your show, Tommy Wilcox Outdoors?
I started it. This year is my 20th year. So wow. I'm in my 20th year. I always loved hunting and fishing. Growing up in Louisiana, my dad would take us hunting and fishing all the time. So, when I always loved to watch TV, I used to watch that Kurt Gowdy, when he had.
Oh, yeah. American Outdoors. I remember something like that.
Always have, Larry Zonk, or you'd have Billy Mays or Joe Maggio. And I always thought that was pretty cool to have athletes who you watch play, and then be able to see them in the outdoors. It almost makes you feel like hey man, that's kind of what I like to do. I kind of like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
when I started the show, it was kind of, I wanted to do something like that. I wanted to get football players and baseball players and golfers and a little bit of everything, and
Mm-hmm.
get them outdoors, and then talk with them about how they got to where they were, why they were successful, and whether it was, and I loved Hank Williams Jr. music. I got to do him. I got to do, a lot of coaches. I got to do Coach Saban, Ogeron,
Yeah.
uh, Coach Kroom when he was at Mississippi State.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I went to Georgia and did, gosh, what was that coach's name? Coach Mark Rick, got to
Mark
do him.
Ritt. What
Yeah.
did you go fishing, or you went fishing with Coach Saban, right?
I went fishing with Coach Saban, yeah, up there in
Is
Georgia.
he a good fisherman, or is he okay?
Yeah, he did good. The only problem with Coach Saban, and I laugh about it, he is so high.
High strung?
Yeah, he's so high strung that he'd walk from the front of the boat to the back of the boat to the front of the boat to the back of the boat, while we were waiting to catch a fish, and I'm thinking, Coach, just
Chill.
calm down. I said, yeah. Coach, he goes, oh, I am. And I'm thinking,
that's him, calm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can't stand still, man. But he was gracious enough to do that. And we had a great time, made a great show. But I got to fish with Pam and Mel Tillis.
Oh my God.
Together. I got to Ray Knight, the 1986 World Series MVP from the New York Mets. I mean, I just got to remember the great golfer Nancy Lopez.
Lopez, yeah.
Got to do a bird show with her.
Oh my gosh.
So
I know Eddie Payton. I know Eddie Payton and Walter Payton are big hunters and fishermen. Did you ever go with Walter?
No, I never did get to go with them. But I got to do an unbelievable amount of country musicians, and I got to do a lot of SEC players and some coaches and stuff like that. And got to do a little bit about sort of like what you do, get them on there and talk with them about their life, what they're doing now, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. How did they get to where they're at?
Right.
And all that. And it brings a personal, everybody just sees them on game day and all that. They don't get to see that other side that we get to see. And that's kind of what I try to.
Yeah. That's what people want to see. Stories, man. They want to see great stories.
Yeah. And then people always say, well, how, when you're going to retire? And I said, I guess I said, I don't know what I do when I do retire. I'd be hunting and fishing. So as long as someone's crazy enough to pay me money, yes, I'm going to keep doing it,
Why retire? That's ridiculous. Yeah. Some good friend of mine, Mark Merrow, says, oh man, you retire, you die. I mean, you love what you do. I love what I do. Right. And we're lucky. We're really blessed, Tommy. What's your favorite fish to catch? I'm from Lake Ontario, so I was always king salmon and the northern pike and stuff. What do you like?
I'm from Louisiana, so I love the redfish and speckled trout, and we still do a lot of that. And then up here in Alabama, it's mostly bass and brim and crappie,
right.
But and probably red fishing is my. I don't like to go offshore and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I like to just.
Yeah, me too.
It just takes me back to my childhood when I go red fishing and trout.
Yeah, me too. I grew up fishing up in Lake Ontario. Have you ever been up at the Great Lakes? Fish up there?
I've been up to Wisconsin deer hunting and all, but I never made it out on the Great Lakes or anything like that fishing.
Is deer your favorite animal to hunt? Is that your favorite hunting trip?
Used to be until I got up here to Alabama and got hooked on these crazy turkeys.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah.
I really love turkey hunting. We'll go Texas, South Dakota, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, Alabama. We're going to Wisconsin this year on the turkey hunt. So we'll go a little bit of everywhere for turkeys. But deer hunting, what used to be my greatest thing, I enjoy now taking kids with disabilities, life-altering diseases, or that some might even be on a death sentence, where they got cancer and only got 6 months.
Yeah.
I enjoy watching them take a deer, and I love filming it and then burning it a CD so that their families can have a copy.
Oh yeah.
Because they most of them's got ports in their chest where they're getting chemo all the time, and the only day they're not being pricked and prodded and everything else is when they're out there fishing or hunting with me, and their smiles are so. I mean, it's just precious, man, and I enjoy doing that. I mean, I could do that more than taking, Hank Williams Jr. on a quail hunt, because even though that's fun and I enjoy it, I enjoy more seeing that kid take a deer. And
that's the reason I got into coaching. Me and Lewis Campbell, we didn't get along too well. He yelled at me at least 158,000 times. I never heard him yell at you. I don't know. Were you babysitting his kids or something, Tommy? I don't know.
Man, he would get on me sometimes, but I don't know, man. It's just everybody's different, and everybody. Well, you know this because your coach. You can't treat everybody the same way. Some people react to this, some people react to that.
Right.
So you got to find out what gets those players motivated the most, and then that's how you address them. And usually I was the type. I've always got, if you compliment me, then I'd love to hear that, So that motivated me to do it again. Some people, if you tell them good things, then they get all tied up in that, and they wind up loafing the next play. It's just coaching is just
you have to know your players. You have to know how to motivate them. I mean, Coach Bryant was a master motivator, but you had to do it your own way. George O'Leary is my high school coach. I couldn't motivate the way he did. So I had to find my own way.
That's right.
And that's why, I wanted to share what I learned in all those years of football, 20 years of football. I wanted to share it. God doesn't want you to keep your talents and gifts to yourself. Right. He wants you to share them. So I got into coaching and I loved it for 20 years. I loved every minute of it. And,
doesn't it do your heart good to see a guy you coached and you taught how to open field tackle, how to look the ball in, or whatever it might be? You played a role, and you see that kid playing on Saturdays, and some of them you might see play on Sundays.
One on Sunday, yeah.
I had that privilege, and it's amazing, man. It's like they're like your son,
Yep, absolutely, Tommy. Absolutely. All right. Well, what's next on your show, Tommy Wilcox Outdoors?
We're going to be doing some fishing around Alabama. I got a couple brim shows I'm going to do with some people, with some sponsors and stuff, and then we're going to probably go to Louisiana and do some red fishing, and we'll do that until deer season comes back around again.
One more question. You knew Coach Bryant intimately well, and you got to spend some time with Coach Saban. What are the similarities? Are they both just highly driven and people?
I do. I think they both highly driven, and they know their players and they want the best. I mean, they won't take anything less than your best. You know what I mean?
Right.
They'll push you and push you and push you. And they expect you to go to school, go to practice, both of them. When you're on that practice field, to give 110, they expect you to do your weights. They expect you to do everything you're supposed to do. And if you don't, you're going to be held accountable. So I think that's what they do best. And they don't play around. Coach Saban's the same way. I don't care if you're an All-American last year or if you're a walk-on. This is what I expect of you. And I expect you to give me your best. And if you can't do that, then we don't need you here. And that's kind of what Coach Bryant, I mean, there's a bunch of people that they ran off. You know?
Yeah, there is.
And there's some that were great athletes, but they couldn't go to class, and they couldn't stay out of bar rooms or whatever it might be.
Right. Wow. Yeah. And he has surrounded himself. He'll be the first. Coach Brian will be the first one to tell you he surrounded himself with great coaches, and he did, man. I mean,
he did. Yeah,
he had from Al Miller to Mike. I talked to Mike White last night. You know, our former teammate in Navy SEAL.
Yeah,
and he was Springsteen's head of security for a couple of years, but. He told me in SEAL training he had a picture of Coach Al Miller in his locker because he didn't want to go back and tell Coach Miller he quit.
Yeah.
Stories like that are from Coach Brian and his staff. Tommy, thank you for what you did for me, and for everybody. Thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Paul, and thank you. And look, stay in touch.
I will, buddy. Thank you so much. Tommy Wilcox. Strong safety, All-American. I learned every bit of my play from Tommy Wilcox. I want to thank him. Thanks for the show. Stay tuned for these important messages from our great sponsors. This would not be possible without all of them. Hill Kelly, Seiler Agency, Ronnie's Car Wash, Pensacola Glass, State Farm, Arbitrium, oh gosh, on and on, Beck Realty. So thank you for all those sponsors. It was a great show. Have a great sports weekend, everybody. We will talk to you soon.
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at hillkellydodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
My name is Steve Reynolds. I'm the manager and owner of Cordova Lanes, and we help keep your mind out of the gutter. Cordova Lanes is part of the community of Pensacola. Being here for 43 years, we've entertained more people than any other bowling center in the city. We sell fun for a living. Cordova Lanes is located at 2111 Airport Boulevard in Pensacola, behind Cordova Mall. Come on out and see us at Cordova Lanes Bowling Center. Thank you.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray, and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time. For over 30 years, you have seen the orange Beck signs all over the Gulf Coast listing a property for sale or lease. Beck Partners is your trusted advisor in commercial real estate, property management, commercial and personal insurance. Senior Vice President David Valletto has been with Beck Partners since 1989. Take advantage of his wealth of knowledge by calling him today at 982-7352, 982-7352. Extensive experience in all aspects of leasing, sales, management, and site selection will make sure your expectations are exceeded.